Welcome back to the Bourbon Retriever. Today we're talking about what are my top 10 bottles for Christmas. What are they? Stay tuned to find out. Alright, the first bottle on this list is a Maker's Mark product. Maker's Mark is probably the most iconic whiskey out there with any type of red branding. And since it's Christmas, try to get some bottles that are green and red. Of the Maker's products, the Private Selects are my favorite. I traditionally don't like the baseline Maker's products. They have this weird funk to them that it's hard for me to get over. But some of these Maker's Private Selects can be spot on. I would love to go on a pick one day to better understand each of the stave profiles in the Maker's Private Selects. The one on the end here says it's a toasted French spice. I wonder if that one would give you some more of that rye spice that you would traditionally find in more winter drinks. I don't know enough about the different stave profiles to recommend certain combinations over others. There are over 1,000 combinations of these. The best thing I can tell you is stores that get picks, most of the time, I would say 9 out of 10 times, they'll let you try the sample before you buy their pick. So if you ever see one of these in a store, try it out, see if it's up your alley, and if it is, I think these are a good bottle to have for Christmas. Next bottle on this list is a rye, and it is the Knob Creek Rye. This one is a store pick. I got this bottle from BK's in Maryland. I would suggest you get the store picks over the traditional one just because you get a little more proof there, but if you're in a pinch, the traditional ones are also a good buy. Following the theme, it is Christmas, so this one is a green label. Most ryes have a green label. There are some that kick that trend, but traditionally, just in the mind of the consumer, when they see green, they think rye. So a lot of companies will follow that trend and use that marketing just because it can be easier to distinguish on the shelf when you're at a liquor store. I traditionally am not a rye fan. I think it's either a little too spicy, or when they get older and they're sweet, it's a little one-noted. A lot of times producers, they'll finish their rye to try and make it a little more complex. However, I am a fan of this Knob Creek Rye. There's a lot of nice dark caramel sweet notes to it. I don't know the mash bill on this, but if I had to guess, it's probably a barrel aged rye. I traditionally like ryes that are a little higher corn content. And if you're in the DMV area and you're looking for a Knob Creek store pick, BK's has this right now for $40, which is just an absolute steal. Okay, the next rye on this list is a Michter's Barrel Proof Rye. Now this one is a little harder to get. Normally you can get them for a little under $100, but with it being Christmas time, I think this is the time of year that you bring out some of your better hitter bottles to share with your friends and family, because that is really what whiskey's for. They don't age state the Michter's barrel strengths, but if I had to guess, they're on the older side because I don't get that much rye spice on it. It's a very nice, light, sweet note, and when I blind this, most of the time I think it is a bourbon. These Michter's Barrel Proof Ryes are all batch products, so the proof will vary. I think this one's coming in around 112 proof. Most of them are in that range just because Michter's uses a lower barrel entry proof. They traditionally don't have very high proof products. And next on this list is a local product, and it is Sagamore's Double Oak. The Sagamore Double Oak is probably the best Sagamore core product that they release. I was talking about earlier how a lot of distilleries will have to finish their rye to give a little more flavor, and this is an example. The Double Oak that Sagamore does in this bottle adds a ton of rich wood, that char oak to the rye, which helps balance out the rye spice. I think ryes are some of the best products to finish because you have that balance of bitter and sweetness. It's why in a lot of cocktails you have a bitter, like in the old fashioned, along with some simple syrup. It's a very similar process with ryes. Ryes are typically very, very bitter, and you want a little bit of sweetness to off balance it, and that's why you'd finish it, especially if you can find a double oaked. I think those are some of the better finished ryes. A lot of times they'll finish them in wine barrels, rum, other things like that. I traditionally aren't not as big a fan of those, but rye double oaks I think are pretty good. Pro tip with a Sagamore Double Oak: if you can buy the Sagamore Double Oak plus their Sagamore Cast Strength Rye, both will run you about $60. I would highly recommend you see if you can get a decanter and blend them 50-50, or maybe a little more on the cast strength rye side. By blending them together, you bring up the proof of the Double Oak here, and I think it makes it a much more superior product. The next one on this list is a bottle to check in. Have you been naughty or nice? Santa's checking his list. And some of you out there might not have been the nicest people through the year. And for those people, the bottle on this list is Malort or Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Pick your poison. I don't have much to say about these bottles. Basically, this is the equivalent to me of having coal in your stocking. They aren't pleasurable, but if you're looking for a prank gift for someone, it might be a bottle you grab for them. But just know it's not whiskey they're going to look forward to drinking. And next bottle on this list is a tater bottle, and it is the Eagle Rare 10-year. I put this on the list because I think it is a great bottle to bring to an event for a beginner whiskey drinker. When you go for Christmas, not every one of your friends or family members are going to be experienced whiskey drinkers, so you need some whiskey that will appeal to a beginner or novice drinker. And I think Eagle Rare 10 is one of the better products for that. It is 90 proof, so it's not going to blow your mouth out. It has the brand name of the Buffalo Trace line, so it's a product that novice people would recognize. Like, they would probably think this is a better bottle than many of the bottles I've already put on this list, even though I would say a good number of those are probably better than Eagle Rare. For many novice whiskey drinkers, this is a unicorn bottle, so they'll be super excited to drink it. Okay, next bottle on this list is my last rye on this list. I think it is the best rye that's been released this year, probably better than many ryes released in prior years, and it is the Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye. I think this is the quintessential rye to have for Christmas, and it doesn't break the bank. These are coming in at about $75, $80, and there isn't too much of a secondary markup on them either because they are starting to mass produce them and getting on shelves regularly. One of the reasons I love the Jack Daniel's rye is because it's some of the more complex rye I've ever had, especially for a rye that's not finished. The notes I get in the Jack Daniel's rye is just a roller coaster from the sweetness to the rye spice. Every now and then you get a little banana funk into it maybe. Right now the Jack Daniel's rye is one of my go-to pours when I pull something off the shelf. It is hot, so you can't go to it too often, but I am absolutely in love. If I had to put money on it right now, I think this will win a rye of the year. I'm going to do that in January sometime, put some of the best ryes that came out in 2023, blind them and see how they fall. But if I was a betting man, I think this one will win. When you're hunting for the Jack Daniel's barrel proof ryes, see if you can get a higher proof. They vary. I see them anywhere from high 120s all the way up to hazmat. And I've tried about 6 to 7 of these barrel proofs, and my 2 favorite ones so far has been a hazmat one at 141, and then my second favorite was one at 137 proof. Next one on this list is probably the most quintessential rye whiskey for Christmas, and it is High West Midwinter's Night Dram. I don't have a bottle this year. I've had prior years' bottles, samples at bars or friends' places, and it is a whiskey that just captures the Christmas vibe. You get the nice rye spice that reminds you of a Christmas tree, but it's also finished, so you get that sweetness. They are rather expensive. In my area, I've seen them between $160 to $200. To me, that's a little hard to pay just because I'm not a rye fan. If I was more of a rye fan, I think it'd be a decent price. But considering I enjoy bourbon more, it's just hard for me to pay up to that, especially when the JD rye is out there for $70 or $80. I can get 2 of those basically for the Midwinter's Night Dram. But it is a special occasion bottle that people do hunt for. I heard they're increasing production, so hopefully it gets more available to people in the marketplace, and maybe eventually they'll drive the price down a little bit. All right, the next bottle on this list is not a bottle I recommend in and of itself, but for the meaning it carries. And it is the OKI Reserve Batch 1. This bottle is not a Christmas bottle, but the reason it's a Christmas bottle for me is because the sentiment behind it. This bottle is a bottle that me and my brother got on our first trip to Kentucky, and my brother was just getting into whiskey, and it was just a fun experience showing him the distilleries, helping him try different bottles, and help expand his profile. On the last day, we got an Airbnb that had a fire pit. We popped some of the bottles we got on that trip, and this was one of them. That night, just sitting around the fire, reminiscing, talking, bonding with my brother, especially as we get older, it's getting harder and harder for us to spend time together, just as lives take you on your own journey and we move apart across the United States. It's nice to go back to these bottles and reminisce on those memories. So for you out there, whatever your sentiment bottle is, whether it be a Jack 7, because that's what you saw your grandfather drinking, maybe there's a special bottle you open for your wedding, whatever it may be, that's a bottle that you'd open, pour, sit back, and just remember those fond memories you had in the past. All right, last bottle on this list, it is the Parker's Heritage Double Oak. This bottle was released last year. So I'm not saying the Parker's Heritage Double Oak is a Christmas bottle. What I'm pointing to is the category it is, and that is a unicorn bottle. This time of year, around Christmas time, is when a lot of the LEs drop. People save up the money throughout the year and buy these LEs that are highly sought after, whether it be also maybe you're cashing your loyalty points throughout the year, maybe you're waiting in line a very long time, whatever it may be. In these unicorn bottles, they aren't meant to sit on your shelf, and they also aren't meant to drink alone. Christmas time is when you catch up with your long lost friends, family, people you may have not seen in a year. So for me, Christmas time is one of the best times in the year to pop your unicorn bottle and make new memories. So that's my list for Christmas 2023. Leave in the comments any bottles I may have missed. But before you head out, check out this video or this one. And until next time, cheers.